Welcome to the Schnap Strategic Explainer. If you ask the average sports fan, they'll confidently tell you soccer is just a foreign import. They'll say it's a game America only really decided to care about in the 1990s. But guess what? That narrative is a complete myth. Today, we're unpacking Mark C. Franek's brilliant book, American Soccer Nation, to dive into the gritty, messy, and incredible 150-year journey of soccer right here on American soil. Whether you're a diehard supporter counting down to the next World Cup, or just a casual observer, this history proves our past directly fuels our present. Former U.S. coach Greg Berhalter hit the nail on the head, calling this history a full-field press into an optimistic future. Let's uncover the true roots of the country's modern soccer boom. The beautiful game actually goes way back in North America, long before the English FA drafted a single rulebook. We're talking centuries. In 1586, English sailors were already out there playing kicking games with indigenous Greenlanders along the icy coasts. Fast forward to 1610, and Powhatan youth in Virginia were playing highly organized ball games with physical goals, setting up competitive traditions way before Europe standardized anything. By 1629, the Narragansett people gathered by the hundreds on sandy beaches, playing massive day-long games with their feet for ultimate victory. The scale was astonishing. Players would actually paint their faces, so when they washed off in the ocean afterward, nobody could hold a grudge over a hard tackle. It perfectly shows how kicking games are deeply woven into our earliest history. Moving into the 19th century, the story takes a pretty violent turn. Just listen to this dramatic line from an 1827 Harvard student poem, "Of shins unnumbered bruised, and advancing shins meet advancing shins." Long before gridiron football existed, elite colleges were completely obsessed with mob football. Harvard students actually called their annual freshman-sophomore match Bloody Monday. It was incredibly aggressive, utterly chaotic, and entirely focused on kicking your way down the pitch. This was American proto-soccer at its most visceral. Down in New Jersey, Princeton students were playing variations of this exact game. Their only golden rule: you absolutely could not touch the ball with your hands. So soccer's intensely physical roots were thriving on American campuses long before the forward pass was ever invented. That intense college era eventually caused a massive divergence in American sports. As the 1800s rolled on, gridiron football formalized tackling in the forward pass, officially capturing the wallets of elite college crowds. But the kicking game didn't just die out. Instead, it was rescued by working-class immigrant communities. Soccer found its enduring lifeblood in what Franek calls the four corridors, industrial hubs like Philadelphia, Kearney, Brooklyn, and Fall River. These neighborhoods absorbed huge waves of European immigrants working brutally long hours. For them, soccer was so much more than a sport. It was a vital piece of home. They kept the embers of American soccer burning for over 50 years, while colleges chased the pigskin, forming passionate local clubs that beautifully melded ethnic neighborhoods and native-born talent. That grassroots survival paved the way for the Roaring '20s, the first true golden age of American professional soccer. The cultural optimism was off the charts, driven by an American soccer league booming beyond expectations. Fueled by corporate giants like Bethlehem Steel, who essentially bought entire teams, and backed by savvy entrepreneurs, the league flexed serious financial muscle. The ASL was so wealthy, operating under lax immigration rules, that American owners actively poached elite European stars right in their prime. They paid 2 to 3 times more than top British clubs could offer. The British press was terrified, literally dubbing our domestic league the American Menace. For a brief shining window, the United States was undeniably the most feared financial powerhouse in the global soccer market. So how did all that domestic financial success translate internationally? The answer is totally unprecedented. The U.S. men's national team sailed down to Uruguay for the inaugural 1930 World Cup and absolutely shocked the globe. Not only did the Yanks battle their way to the semifinals, but they recorded the first ever World Cup shutout. Even more incredibly, an American from Fall River, Massachusetts, named Bert Patnatis, scored the first ever World Cup hat trick. It was a monumental achievement. But here's the profound tragedy of the whole shebang. They returned quietly to an America devastated by the Great Depression. There was virtually zero newspaper or radio coverage celebrating what they pulled off. Imagine achieving a historic global first, only to come home to utter silence. That post-1930 void quickly turned into a literal soccer desert, wiping out the incredible momentum of the early century. Following World War II, the U.S. sent a totally unprepared amateur squad to the 1948 London Olympics. The result was a disaster. They finished a match with only 10 players on the pitch and suffered a brutal 0-9 loss against Italy. Ouch. Despite pulling off a miraculous upset over England in the 1950 World Cup, American soccer officially entered its dark ages. From 1950 all the way to 1990, 40 long, frustrating years, the United States experienced 0 World Cup qualifications. The game retreated into the shadows, surviving only in ethnic enclaves and fractured semi-pro leagues, completely ignored by mainstream American sports media for decades. But eventually, the tide had to turn, right? Fast forward to the 2002 World Cup in South Korea and Japan, where American soccer officially announced its massive resurgence on the global stage. This quarterfinal run was historic and deeply emotional for fans who had waited generations. We saw legendary grit from players like Kobe Jones, cementing his unbelievable 164-cap legacy. But it also featured agonizing heartbreak. In the 49th minute against a powerhouse Germany squad, Greg Berhalter redirected a corner kick toward the goal, only for German defender Torsten Frings to block it right on the line with his arm. It was a blatant handball, a clear penalty, yet no call from the ref. The Yanks lost 1-0, coming within a single agonizing inch of the semifinals. That electrifying 2002 run proved America finally had the on-field talent, but sustaining it required serious infrastructure. For decades, the U.S. lacked a true elite development pipeline, leaning way too heavily on the college system. That changed dramatically around 2008, thanks to the homegrown player rule in Major League Soccer. This was a real game changer. It allowed MLS clubs to sign local youth players directly to their first teams, completely bypassing the traditional draft. FC Dallas became a pioneer here, eventually signing a record 43 homegrown players straight from their academy. In 2013, the Philadelphia Union took it further by creating the YSC Academy, a private high school embedded directly within the pro franchise. America was finally building direct school-to-pro pipelines mirroring global soccer standards. And the evolution of this infrastructure culminated in a massive systemic shift. By April 2020, the U.S. Soccer Federation shut down its old development academy system, handing elite youth development over to the MLS Next model. This transition created the true engine of modern American soccer. We're talking about a massive, unified, nationwide network boasting over 270 clubs. Crucially, MLS Next introduced a strict requirement. Participating clubs must provide at least one full scholarship per season. This was a monumental cultural shift. It took direct aim at removing those brutal financial barriers that historically plagued the American pay-to-play model. It represents a serious, unified push to finally crack the code on developing elite young talent, completely regardless of their economic background. The financial backing fueling this modern infrastructure is simply mind-blowing. Consider this staggering number. $500 million. That was the expansion franchise fee paid by San Diego FC in May 2023 just to enter Major League Soccer. To put that in perspective, early MLS franchise fees in the late 1990s hovered around $10 million. The league has experienced an explosive, strategic rise, expanding to 30 teams. This growth literally puts MLS on par geographically with behemoths like the NFL and NBA. All across the country, clubs are building spectacular soccer-specific stadiums, cultivating deeply passionate fan bases and attracting global superstars. The American soccer landscape is finally operating as the unified, well-funded powerhouse it was always destined to be. Which brings us to the ultimate culmination of this incredible 150-year journey. The 2026 World Cup is rapidly approaching, and with the U.S. men's national team playing their group stage games on home soil, the cultural optimism is off the charts. Mark C. Frenek's history proves our soccer heritage is anything but a recent import. It's a deep, resilient American story of survival and triumph. We are no longer just the American menace of the 1920s, nor are we wandering hopelessly in the soccer desert of the mid-century. We've got the academies, the pipelines, and a fierce history backing us up. Thank you for tuning in to the Schnap Strategic Explainer. Hit that like button, subscribe, and comment below with your 2026 World Cup predictions. Let's hear it.